Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Wisconsin Revival Rally Show. I am your host, Dr. David D. King, and I just want to welcome each and every one of y'all here with us tonight. I have super women on the line with me tonight. We are going to have a great time. Let me make sure I set it up on Facebook. We want to welcome Facebook. We want to welcome YouTube. We want to welcome Twitter and LinkedIn on tonight. And we have ladies across the state with us tonight. And I'm excited to have them here because I know this is going to be a great show for each and every one of us. And so let me get the preliminary out of the way. Let me make sure I got that turned. Oh, I got to turn it down. Bam. Okay. I'm going to get the preliminary out of the way. First, we will be tomorrow night. We will be with the Washburn County Patriots at the Lake Park Alliance Church, 53 3rd Street in Shell Lake, Wisconsin. We will be there. If you in the Shell Lake area, come on over. I am the guest speaker on tomorrow. Come hear my vision for the state of Wisconsin because I am Dr. David King and I am your next lieutenant governor. So come on out and see us. And then on Friday, we have the Holiday Inn in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. The last Wisconsin Revival Rally for the year of 2021, and we're going to blow it up in 2022. So we're excited about that. We're glad that you guys are with us on tonight. So we're going to get, as we say, we're going to get this party started. I want to welcome all the ladies that are with me on the show tonight. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off. Each lady is going to introduce themselves. They're going to tell you where they're from, what area of Wisconsin they're from, and they're going to tell you their story. And then we're gonna rock it, and we're going to say we're going to have some fun. So I want to welcome everybody here, and we're going to start with the lovely Destiny. So go ahead, Destiny, introduce yourself and share your story.
Hello, I'm Destiny. I was a college student. I was a freshman until I dropped out of the current college I'm in. Now I'm enrolled in a online university that I start in January. I'm in the West Bend area of Wisconsin, and my story is my college experience at Carroll University. And the reason I say is because I no longer attend Carroll for many reasons, but the main reason is the unprofessionalism of a specific professor I had a disagreement with. And like I said, I'm now currently registered for Liberty University Online. So at my college a little over a month ago on November 2nd at Carroll University in Waukesha, Wisconsin, I had this class called CCS 100 or Cross-Cultural Seminar, one of a few classes that are required to help make students more well-rounded in order to graduate. For my selection of classes, I chose the political one, CCS 100, section RR, Why Can't We All Get Along? Religion, Ideology, Politics in the United States and the United Kingdom as the full title. The gist of this class was to teach students how to discuss political issues no matter where you were on the political spectrum. One of the biggest messages that was focused on at the beginning of my class was respecting everyone's point of view, which seemed to align with the Carroll University's ethos, which is we are partnered in creating a community that embraces respect, and integrity, and stewardship. But this did not apply to me on November 2nd when I walked into class with a Let's Go Brandon shirt, coincidentally the one made by Brandon Tatum. When my teacher saw it, he pulled me out of class to talk to me about it. As I remember it, he said and stated that I was creating an uncivil environment because in his eyes, it was a personal insult to Joe Biden. I questioned what's the difference between what I'm wearing versus anti-Trump or BLM merchandise. He then said that MAGA and BLM merchandise were different because they could be more open to interpretation. He then asked me to take it off or leave class. Now, mind you, I was wearing it over a sweatshirt, but still I believe that asking an 18-year-old girl to remove her shirt is an inappropriate thing to ask. I chose to leave class. I did it because I feel like he was infringing on my freedom of speech and expression. Luckily, I was blessed with some awesome classmates who messaged me after this all took place to make sure I was okay. In addition, they sent me pages to the school's dress code for me to look over. These published pages proved that I didn't break the dress code. My classmates also let me know that apparently my t-shirt and potentially my choosing to stand up for myself bothered the professor so much that he walked back into class visibly shaking. The professor told the whole class about what happened between him and I, saying I just have to talk about this. Then to top it all off, he also accidentally called another student Brandon. Later, after all this took place, I learned from my professor that this particular professor bases your grade on what the class thinks of you, something that was never brought up in class. This basically is putting in a practice of a social credit score, and I feel like his telling the class after the incident was an attempt at a defamation. Mm. Later, I got a call from the provost apologizing to me because somebody else reported the incident. He seemed pretty genuine, or just genuine as a whole. The following week, I received an email from my professor asking to meet with me to discuss the incident on Tuesday, November 2nd, along with my oral exam score. I then met with him on Tuesday, November 9th. I recorded the incident. He started off by saying it wasn't an official meeting and that it was for all for the protection of everybody. Afterwards, we greeted each other. He spoke about my oral exam. He asked if I was afraid of culture because he understood that I came from what looks to be Republican tradition and very strong libertarian, and that my family was very strongly libertarian. I told him I wasn't afraid of culture. Then the conversation about my Let's Go Brandon shirt started and went on way longer than I expected. At the end, I received no apology from him for his behavior. Although it was unfortunate how and why this happened, I have never been more grateful for his situation. With going to Carroll, I honestly always felt like I was holding myself back and something felt off. With the dystopian COVID measures, it never felt right. It made me finally get to the turning point, finally say, no, I'm not going to comply with being treated like a second-class citizen. To me, it was honestly a sign from God telling me to stick with my morals even more wholeheartedly. Again, before the incident happened, my mom was looking at conservative and or Christian colleges for me to attend instead, while I was also thinking of leaving Carroll to go to another college. When my mom found Liberty University, a Christian college in Virginia, which shares the same pro-American Christian values. When we found the college, I couldn't believe my eyes. I had recently changed my major from animal behavior to political science in that turn of events. My new schedule now includes constitutional government and free enterprise, American exceptionalism, along with required classes like Christian life and the biblical worldview. Liberty is also known for training champions of Christ. The reason I share my story is to get it out to encourage other conservative college students or any other college students that feel like they're in a helpless situation to stand up for what they believe in. No one should feel that they have to settle for less than the truth. Thank you.
All right. I like that already. Look like we finna have a good show. All right. Next up, Melissa.
Hi guys, my name is Melissa Markoutzis. I am from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Basically, I am a mother of two children who go to the Kenosha Unified School District. They were not in school since March 2020 because I refused to subject them to the crazy, ridiculous rules that were put in place. In my eyes, it's abuse. So I'm not going to let my kids wear a mask. I'm not going to let them social distance. I'm not going to let them not go to recess and all that stuff. So it was a big no. I believed them when they said it was going to be a better back school year, and I registered for my children to be back in person again. Lo and behold, the week before school started, the school board had an agenda that I believe was planned. This was a nationwide agenda. It didn't just happen in Wisconsin. And they, instead of making masks optional for all students, they decided to mandate that again. So at that point in time, I knew because the board walked out on us, they wouldn't even listen to the parents who did not want their children to wear masks, that we needed to do something, that this was heading down the wrong path and it needed to stop. So I immediately said we needed to start a lawsuit. I thought that we should go with a class action lawsuit because I did gather a bunch of parents' informations and emails, build a database so that we can communicate more people who felt like I did. However, I couldn't find a lawyer to touch us with a class action lawsuit. I did find a local attorney in Kenosha who I thought was for our cause, who ended up just completely wasting my time and leading me on and being more part of the problem than the solution. Although I did gain a lot of knowledge, a lot of research, I found credible witnesses that we can use moving forward. And so it wasn't all a waste. But what ended up happening is I did find an attorney with the help of a lot of great parents who also have the same mission as me, who was willing to represent us, but we had to restructure our lawsuit. So instead of it being a class action lawsuit, we had to pick one candidate that would best represent us as a whole. I chose a local pastor whose own religious exemptions for his children were denied. That's right. KUSD is denying medical exemptions, religious exemptions, and we all know that that's not okay. So what we did is we ended up raising funds and we did an investigation. We issued KUSD a demand letter. They had 2 weeks to respond to our demand letter. And what they found, the lawyers found in our investigation, is that not only was KUSD in violation of federal laws, they were also in violation of state statutes and legislations. They're violating parents' rights as far as, the fundamental rights under the Constitution, the constitutional right to direct the upbringing of one's child, a strict scrutiny test, religious discrimination, FDA violations, and the list goes on and on. KUSD had 2 weeks to respond. They did not even acknowledge us. The school board does not return phone calls, at least for me, does not return emails. The superintendent was the only one who responded to my email about our investigation and demand letter. And basically the only thing she told me was that she thanked me for my perspective. So she was very aware. They're all aware of what's happening. They're all aware that I also started a petition. We had hundreds of parents who felt the same way sign this petition that was issued to them as well. They don't care. They didn't acknowledge us at all. The next step that we had to take now is to go through with a federal lawsuit, which we will file a federal lawsuit in the court of law. We're currently raising more funds to do that. I've been on several different podcasts, spoke at a rally that Dr. David King allowed me to speak to last week and invited me to come on the show this week to talk as well. I'll be on a few other ones coming up as well, to get the word out, to let people, know that we're doing this, that we're not going to put up with this, and hopefully inspire other people, other parents, not just in Kenosha, but all across the nation, to stand up for their children, for their rights. I cannot believe that we need to fight for the option of our child to be able to breathe freely. This is disgusting. In addition to that, I've also got bracelets that I was selling that says God Wins and Digital Soldier. And that was a great hit at the convention that we were at last week. And all the proceeds and everything go towards our lawsuit. So, we are fighting here. We're fighting for our children. We're fighting for our freedom. We're fighting for our future. And we're not going to stop. This is a good versus evil war. I, along with all of you, I believe, are on the right side of history, and God is going to win this war, you guys. And one way or the other, we win this. I know we win in the end, but I am not going to stop fighting, and I hope that none of you guys do either. Destiny, I'm very proud of you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I give you a lot of props for standing up for yourself and doing what's right, and I love that you had that shirt on.
Hear, hear.
As you can see, I'm wearing the
Yay! I am too.
digital soldier, God's win. And
I gotta get one of those.
Huh?
Yeah, me
I
too.
gotta get one of those.
And
Message me.
yeah, so we got them, and I'm wearing them, and a lot of people brought some on last weekend, so that was great. Next up, Come on, warrior.
Hi. Yeah. Okay. I'm Sarah Peliquin. I am a mother of 5. I have a husband of, we've been married for 15, almost 16 years now. And we homeschool. And so I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm kind of fighting on the home front right now. And I've always been a lover of history, and so this was something that I believe God has been preparing my heart for many years. I've studied the Constitution. Actually, in high school, I had it memorized. I don't ask me to repeat it now because I wouldn't be able to. But my one of my favorite quotes from the founding fathers right now is John Adams' quote, where he says, "I must study politics and war, that our sons may have liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. Our sons and daughters ought to study mathematics and philosophy, geography, natural history, and naval architecture, navigation, commerce, and agriculture in order to give their children a right to study painting, poetry, music, architecture, statuary, tapestry, and porcelain." So I feel like we're the generation that gets to study the arts of politics and war. So that's where I stand right now. I've been involved in the party here in our county. We've been working really hard to just gain an understanding and educating and informing the citizenry, because if we don't have an educated and informed citizenry, then we will lose this nation, and I'm not willing to let that happen. So I'm working right now on trying to build a curriculum for the state of Wisconsin's constitution, and just teaching my kids. I mean, we read and we study and learn all about what these current events are about, and what led up to them. I like I said, I have a really strong interest and passion in historical events, and if we don't learn from our history, we will be doomed to repeat it. And so, seeing all of the disturbing things taking place in the world, I also know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because I know we have warriors who are waking up. And history has proven that when you wake up the sleeping dragon in America, sleeping dragon tends to get very, very angry very, very quickly. So so I am, that's my story. I'm defending home and hearth, and hoping to be a voice of reason and truth in the communities that I work in. So
Now, I have to start off by, when I look at everybody as I travel the state, because I mean, you got Kenosha, you got West Bend, you got Black River Falls. All of you guys is from different parts of Wisconsin, and you guys all talking about your freedom and your faith.
Yep.
And and that's something that I love, because of the fact that until we place God back where he belongs, then we're going to continue to have chaos and darkness. I don't know about Black River Falls, but today we had another experience with Eau Claire Republicans Party. Okay, they again said they're not really going to talk to anyone who don't sign the pledge, and that's not freedom. That's I don't know what people think, but it was told that if we don't sign a pledge, they don't want to talk to us. And so that's kind of sad when we're sitting here telling people what we want and they're not listening.
yeah.
And so we have to do things like, oh, okay, Scott is talking. Scott's saying Black River Falls. But we have to serve notice to everybody to let them know that we will not allow anybody to dictate to us. We have the right as Americans to choose what we want to do, how we want to do it, and when we want to do it, And I don't think nobody should try to smother us, shackle us. The Bible says, "Don't muzzle the ox," and I just don't believe that we shall allow people to um, to do the things that they're doing. No, I don't care what side of the fence they're on. When they start to talk about we can't think for ourselves and we can't choose for ourselves, no matter what side it's on, it's still oppression.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for one, will not be oppressed by anyone.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna hit you ladies with a question, and I just want y'all, because y'all are strong women, and Destiny is very strong, and so and I know we getting comments now, so I'm waiting on somebody to make a comment, but how do you guys see Wisconsin in 2022? And y'all can take the time to think about it. How do you see it? Or what's your vision for Wisconsin in 2022? Let me change it to that. What is your vision for Wisconsin in 2022? And then whoever want to go first, just go ahead and speak.
Well, I can definitely speak to vision much better than how do I see it, because right now looking at everything, it looks so hopeless, right? We're up against a wall with a lot of people and on both sides of the aisle. And so that can get really discouraging. But my vision for 2022 is that we start focusing back on the essentials. As parties, as communities, as families, our principles, our nation was founded on very fundamental human principles and God-centered principles. Every word of the Constitution, every word of the Declaration came straight from the Word of God. And so I want people to start seeing that the main fight that we have is, one, the sanctity of life. If we can't look at human life as sacred, as something that we are made in God's image and we are precious and we are significant to the creator of the universe, again, we lose our country if we cannot unite under that banner. And again, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on politically. That is a fundamental. It's in the first part of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They're endowed by their creator. These are given principles. And that's my number one vision, is that we start seeing human life as sacred and as significant to the creator of the universe. And then the second part is freedom. Our rights are not given by government. They are not granted or taken away by government. We have our rights given to us by the creator of the universe. He is the authority over all human governments. And so those two things, I really, again, going back to the education aspect, really informing and educating the citizenry. This is where our foundational principles are, and we have to meet on this battleground. This is the hill we have to die on. And then I think all of those other divisive things, those are going to fall to the wayside, or at least take second place, because we're going to see one another for who we were created in God. And we're going to see that our freedom, our rights as human beings, we will be enslaved to no one. So, yeah.
All right. I'm going to touch this, and then I want one of you ladies to touch, to go back to the question. But Ed, I want to say that it was not framing wrong. It was what was told today to me, that if we didn't sign the pledge, they won't even let us talk. They won't even let us in the meeting. This was told directly today, Ed. So I'm not framing it to be dishonest about anything, but that was literally what's told to me today. This is not hearsay. If we did not sign that pledge, we're not allowed to talk to them. We're not allowed to go to their meetings. This was told today, Ed. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick. All right, which one of you other ladies want to talk about the vision for Wisconsin?
I'll go next.
Okay.
My vision is kind of going off of what Sarah said, in that since people are waking up more, I really hope people stick to that. And something like what I talked about in my speech is doing for things like what you believe in, no matter the circumstances, and to get out of the toxic environments. With that said, I hope that people, stand up for what they really believe in, like voting for a certain candidate that they like and they think that's the right choice, and saying no to the mandates, or just having the freedom to do what you want, I guess. But just really, I guess my flat statement is people sticking true to their beliefs and showing that through their actions next year. I guess that's really my vision.
Okay.
Amen.
Melissa?
I would have to agree with both ladies on everything that they've spoke about. I think that, everything is very important, but my vision is to transfer from dark to light. We have been controlled by fear, which does not come from God. Fear was instilled in our world, and it essentially crippled everybody. It turned everyone's world upside down. And so what I would like to see happen is to really make sure that God is front and foremost for our nation, that we put God back into our schools, back, into some churches, back into office, back into our candidates. It really needs to change from dark to light, and we really need to make morals, and not so much people's feelings and emotions, but morals and principles back into place, because we got to make a stance. We got to make a change. We got to get all of the corruption out of every aspect that's been infiltrated with the enemy. That includes school boards. That includes, lieutenant governor seats. That includes whatever it may be, president. But, we're going on and forward. And I think there's going to be a change. I really, truly believe there's going to be a revival. I really, truly believe that we will break free of these chains, and that, there's hope on the horizon, and we're climbing up that ladder. We're getting up that mountain, we're getting up that hill, and things are going to flip. They already are starting to flip, maybe not as quickly as we like them to, but, everything that the enemy is trying, all his plots and plans and schemes, they're falling apart at the seams, and we are rising above, and more people are waking up to the blindness that we have had, to entrust so much trust in the wrong people, blatantly. And, that goes from everything from the school boards to, again, the FDA to big pharma, the list goes on and on. Every single thing needs to be dismantled and restructured based on the word of God, in my personal opinion. That is my vision and my hope, because I feel like as long as we have him first, it doesn't matter who's against us. If he's for us, it does not matter who's against us. So we got to keep fighting for the truth, and it will prevail.
All right. So, Mr. Ed is asking a question, and I'll let you ladies answer it, and then I will take a stab at it. All right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the question.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Well, I would say that you're living in that. There's nothing to do with God basically in our schools. You can't even say the Pledge of Allegiance and anything like that. So I would say that your time has come and maybe gone. That's what I hope anyways. I think that, if you can't see that evil has a grip on us and that things need to change, and what we've been accustomed to is not working, I don't know really what else to tell you, but I know that everybody on here feels the opposite way. So.
Yeah. And I would say, as far as religious dogma is concerned, you don't have to be a Christian to be dogmatic about your beliefs.
Yeah.
Atheists are religious in their dogma. They hold tight to the belief that there is no God, and they have a worldview that states that life has no meaning and no purpose. And we're in the after effects of living in this secular culture. So yeah, I would say that, there's a difference between dogma and pushing and proselytizing within the schools or within institutions, and being a light to the world because we have an actual moral standard, and it's higher than us. When public schools took God out of everything, we saw a dramatic increase in drug use, alcoholism, divorce, unwed pregnancies, just rape, and all of these things that happened were because we took out the moral standard, and instead we replaced it with a vacuum that told the children in the education system, you have no meaning and purpose. You are just a ball of meat floating around in the universe, and you are an evolutionary chance. And so that's just as dogmatic as somebody who comes in and says, you must believe in God and this particular God with this particular creed. I would say we don't want to bring dogmatic behavior into the schools. We want to bring a moral standard back that has a basis in objective truth, and really reach a place where we can accept that there is truth, because right now we're in a post-truth culture is what they call it. And it's just, we can see the results of it. It's destructive, and it's destroying our children and our future generations. So,
yeah.
I agree with that too. And it depends on what you consider dogmatic. And then like what Sarah said too, there's like the way that people deal with atheism religiously, or it could be Catholic, or it could be Jewish, or, Christian, whatever. It depends on what you consider like what's the definition of religion and how someone follows that. Because some people might also consider that with like the science is some kind of religion also, in that all people are like drawn to some kind of not collectivism, but like some kind of unity like that. And then it's also, if you want to still stay in the public school system, you could do either way. You could do private, or you could do homeschool or whatever, but it depends on how you want to raise your kid and how that goes. It's on how you want to raise your child in that kind of sense.
Yeah. And it's like this. All the founding fathers was not believers. All of them was not believers, but we got more scriptures in the Constitution than ever before in any other constitution. So it's not that they forced the rest of the founding fathers to be believers. It's just that those of us who follow God, there's a certain principle, there's a certain way we're supposed to live, there's a certain standard we're supposed to have. And if we is allowed to put those principles, because right now we got politics without principles.
Yep.
So if we put those principles back, then we'll have a better government. Then we'll have a smaller government if we put those principles back, And so when we look at putting God back in government and God back in schools, we're really saying we're putting the principles of God back in government, the principles of God back in school, and so when we understand, we're not talking about toting the Bible and telling everybody you're going to hell, and we're not talking like that. We're talking about the principles: love one another, respect one another, do good for one another. Those are the principles that we're supposed to be living by and govern ourselves by. So when we start to go back to the principles of God and how we do things, the Bible says, love your enemy, do good to those that hate you, bless those that spitefully use you. So, so not get a gun and get even. No, we're supposed to show the love of God. And where there is no Christ and there's no God, then there is no light. And when there is no light, you got darkness, you got misery, you got chaos. What are we living in right now? Darkness, misery, and chaos. Yep. So, so it's not about forcing anything. It's about being an example to everything, to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let me see. What did he say?
The dogma and stuff. Oh yeah. So, but the schools really actually started shutting God. Actually, the public sphere started shutting God out in the 30s and 40s. So this was kind of a gradual decline that led to the basically the free reign of emotion and feeling, and all of the the hippie movements and stuff of the 70s and 80s, the free love and not war and all that stuff, that came out from when we started really taking God out of the public schools in the 30s and 40s. So that's the thing. Evil doesn't just start right like overnight. It very insidious and very much it takes a while to gain a foothold. So
yeah. And that's when they, in the 30s and 40s, is when they started pushing taxation without representation, and they started moving God out of the way. And the thing about it is, anytime you start, see, we got to ask ourselves, how did we get here? And then we got to go back down the line and say, oh, this is how we got here. How did the family get breaking up? Let's go back. Oh my God, it was LBJ. When he put the war on poverty, that's when he destroyed the family. So we have to go back and look at things and say, oh my God, how did we get here? One woman took prayer out of school. One woman. So we have to look at it and say, okay, where did we get here? Most people didn't even know that the public school was birthed out of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Welfare system was birthed out of the church. And then what we do, we allow government to take control of it.
Yep.
So when we go back and we start to look at things and say, oh my God, how did this happen? How did this happen? Somebody else made a comment. I'm gonna put it up.
Definitely. It all comes back to the family, really.
Well, and when you look at that, they, for example, now they got a large law called child abuse. There's no room for discipline. So if you tell your son, okay, we didn't like what you did, so we're going to put you on punishment. We're going to take your PlayStation away for a week. And he go to school and say, my mama done punishing me. Next thing you know, child protector is knocking on your door.
Yep. Although they're abusing our kids every day in person.
Exactly.
And it's depending on case, and most of them, they write, from like my understanding, they write these like laws and how they're literally written to be so vague. Okay, so like what's the line of like what's abuse, what's punishment, what's the defining line on it, and it's very vague, so it could be anything.
Yep. But what us as parents need to do is take back our children. They do not belong to you. They belong to us. Exactly. And that's where they need to fit into line. These school boards and everybody need to get into line and understand that we are in control of our children and you are supposed to work for us. Yes. And that's the problem right now. They've done a power switch and they think that we're just going to, do everything that we're told and this, that, and the other. No, it can't be that way. I'm sorry. You're not going to tell me what's happening with my kids.
And if you really want to know even more besides like just talking to your kid, because I've always had that relationship with my mom and that's how she always knew what was going on, sub in a public school, be an aide. Then you'll really get to know kind of like what's going on. That's what one of my parents experienced when like they did that.
Yeah. Well, I found out a lot since my children have been remote. I've learned a lot.
Here's to sum it up. Here's another problem. And we got a good one going on with this parent stuff. But here's the problem: when you really take God out of the home, okay, and you got a lot of people go to church, but they don't follow the guidelines of God. God said, train up a child in the way he should go, right? Not just in the Bible, in life, period. Exactly. Train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And the thing about it is respect starts at home. So if I'll give you an example. Okay, Scott, I'm gonna get you on and I'm gonna get Ed on in a second. I'm gonna let y'all come on with us with the ladies. I'm not a lady, but with the ladies. But here's the thing about it though, you guys, and we have to understand. First of all, we need to go back to what I like to call the 3 core of education. All right. Here's my 3 cores. The teacher commit to teaching our kids the truth. The parents commit to working side by side with the teachers. All right. And the child commits to work on getting good grades. Mm-hmm. We had that before. I could not go home and tell my mama I got a D because my teacher didn't like me. That didn't work with me. You know, that the teacher, I'm getting a bad grade because the teacher didn't like me. No, I got a bad grade because I was doing something I had no business and I didn't do my homework. Do you know one day my daddy whooped me because I didn't bring a book home? You know, now the kids will say, oh, we ain't got no homework. And then they go play the video game and we don't check.
Yeah.
My son is 13. And ever since my son was little, I tested to see if he knew how to read and do math. We would drive down the street and at a red light, I said, read that sign to me. And then I give him a math problem and say, okay, I need you to figure this out.
Yeah.
No paper. I need you to think. I need you to figure it out. Why? Simply because of the fact that we as parents has a responsibility as well to make sure our children, we cannot put everything on the teachers.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Our teachers only have they only have the power that we've given them. And at one point, we parents gave them the power to teach our children reading, writing, and arithmetic, and hopefully some history. I mean, the original public education system, by 8th grade, kids had to know, in the 1800s, kids had to have memorized and studied the Bible,
Yep.
large passages of the Bible, George Washington's farewell address, the Declaration and the Constitution, and the Magna Carta, because those are those were the foundational documents for the building of our nation. John Adams said, this constitutional republic is not built for any other than a moral and upright, virtuous citizenry. It's completely inadequate to anybody else. And that's the whole point. We took that out of the public schools. We parents stepped back, and I'm saying this generationally, not specific parents, but we stepped back and we said, oh, well, the teachers are the experts. They've got the letters behind their names, so they know my kids better than I do. I might as well hand them over and let them do their job.
But you also got to remember now, the government forced families' hand that parents had to go to work and moms couldn't stay home and be moms. And so when the government says, okay, you know what, this is what we're going to do. We got the fathers out the house. Now let's force the mothers to go to work and we raise the children.
Yep.
And that's what's happening right now. Okay, somebody made a comment on YouTube. I'm going to put theirs up first.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
of course, like with what Dr. King said, like respect starts in the home. And I totally agree with that. I've actually brought that up a couple times just in my personal life where, okay, so you have a kid and they're like a newborn kid. Their brain is still developing. They learn all their behavior and what their normal is from you. They don't learn it from a babysitter or from the school unless, at least starting out anyway, because they're spending most of their time with you unless you put them with a babysitter, because then they'll learn that behavior from the babysitter. And then with public schools too, if you're already not spending enough time with your kid, public schools, they're teaching what you could also be teaching your kids. And then when you're sending them off, that's also kind of like a daycare that you're sending them to, where you're spending less time with them and they're learning what they're learning there that they could also learn at home, just not from you.
Right.
That kind of thing.
And I always tell people this. When you send your children to Caesar, don't get mad when they come home a Roman.
Exactly.
It's true.
And watch this. There was a study, and this is why it's so important. We have to ground our children with the word of God.
Mm-hmm.
There was a study, 85 to 90% of children, young adults that go off to college from church never return back to the church.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's so sad.
And the reason that is because they're not grounded in the word of God to the fact where they was not grounded in the word of God to the fact where they was able to stand up to the challenge when when their professors, who was an atheist, came at them.
Yep.
And because their job is to deprogram them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And make them believe and think the way they think. But if the children, if they don't have that foundation, if that foundation is not solid, if they don't understand and they don't have that personal relationship, and they were just in church because we had to go to church, Not that we wanted to go, but we had to go.
Yep.
You know, and that's some of the problem. But the biggest problem is the government then got so big that they, you know, and one of the things that okay, I'm gonna put this person thing up too. But one of the things that we have to understand and realize is this. I tell the men all the time when I'm talking to men, I ask them a question. I said, are you the thermostat or the thermometer in your home? And if he says to me, I'm the thermometer and not the thermostat, I got a problem with him. Because his job is to be that thermostat. He's supposed to set the setting of the house.
Yep.
You know, I know people say a happy wife, a happy wife, happy house, happy wife, happy life. I don't believe in that, ladies. I believe in happy spouse, happy house.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides got to be happy. Women can be happy and the man can be miserable. No, both has to be. Why? Because then to the children, they're going to know how to treat a woman, and the daughter's going to know how to be received by a man and how to be loved by a man when they see the father love the mama.
Yep.
That and it's a relationship. It takes two people.
It takes two. You go, girl. Say it again.
It takes two people. It's two people interacting. And before you had children, you were working with each other.
Right.
And if not, then it's probably not a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
But it takes two people. Two people are involved. It's not just one person.
Yes.
Yeah. The best piece of advice I got when I first got married was, this is not a 50-50. It's you go 100% and your husband goes 100%. And your marriage comes first, because your kids are going to grow up and leave home. And if they see an unstable marriage, they will never have the security and the foundation to build a life for themselves outside of you. So, yeah.
You're absolutely right. And also, I say this. When a man tell you, you make me whole, run. Run. If a woman tell a man, you make me whole, run. No, I'm whole all by myself. My wife just compliment me. I'm a whole man all by myself. Yep. She's a whole woman all by herself. I just compliment her and she just compliment me. That's all it is. If somebody tell me, oh, you make me whole, no, run. That means you got a half a person. Let me put this.
And it goes with that too. How are you supposed to take care of other people before you take care of yourself? Like when I used to go on airplanes anyway, where like the emergency air bag drops, you have to help yourself before you help anyone else.
Yep, exactly.
Exactly. So what y'all think about this statement?
Wow.
Way to go. I props. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then Kat says, I was guilty of that. Okay. And then this gentleman again, or lady, I don't know who it is. I think it might be a lady.
Goodness.
I think the previous one said she was a single mom. So.
Oh, so it's a lady. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I have to say, just the strength of single motherhood. I mean, that is a tough job to be on your own raising your children. That is an amazing role that you've been placed in. I'm not saying that it's not hard. It's so much harder when there's just you doing that. But standing up and fighting hard, that is just I just want to cry just thinking about it, because wow.
Well, you know, okay, let's see. I'm trying to find, I won't be able to do it that way, so I'm gonna have to do it another way. I was finna bring somebody on. But you know, I give women the highest. And when I say the highest, I give women the highest praise and honor. And I tell you why. My mom raised 6 boys and 1 girl by herself.
Wow.
And not only did she raise 6 boys and 1 girl by herself, but she opened her door to anybody need help. I watched her allow families to come stay with us. And I'm like, what? And we never went hungry. She took care of us. She showed us how to love. She showed us how to be a servant, and to raise 6 hard-head, very hard-head boys, that's why I know how it is, because I watched my mom do it. I watched my mom. There was a young girl in our neighborhood, and in the wintertime, her mama would send her to school in dresses, no boots, nothing, in the winter. My mom would snatch her in the house, change her clothes, put boots, coat, everything on her, and send her to school. And when she come home from school, she would take her back in the house and put back on what she left home with, and the girl would go home. Nobody never knew she was doing that. Not just that, but she was taking care of her own 7. So, so my hat goes off to single moms. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
And you guys are built for it. You guys are tough. So I give y'all all the credit, for who y'all are. And because I watched my mom, and watching my mom, no, it's not easy. But the thing about it is, I'm still mad at the government, because the government wanted it like that.
Yeah.
The government.
That's still their goal. The enemy wants it like that too, to destroy our families and everything. So we got to fight to make sure he doesn't get his way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the basic bedrock, the basic building block of any community, any government, is the family. And if we tear that down, we don't have a solid culture. We don't have a solid foundation for building strong generations to come either.
Right.
So we have to preserve not only our freedom, but we have to preserve our morals.
Mm-hmm.
The principles that we stand on and that we live on. Thank you. So if we don't stand for what we believe in, and we just compromise, that's how we in this mess, because we keep compromising. We won't stand strong.
Exactly.
And if it means that we got to sacrifice some things, I think that what we should do is say, look, God, we're standing and trusting you. And if we stand and trust you, we're not worrying about anything else.
Yeah.
Because you are the most important thing to us. And
Be still.
Yeah.
And so for anybody that's going through, if you're fighting for freedom, if you're fighting for your rights, for your kids' rights. But see, here's the thing, and then I'm going to let y'all jump in on this, because I saw this last night. Okay? We was in our meeting, and I saw Sarah kids, and they started asking questions.
My kids are not shy.
And I'm sitting there like, okay, yeah, I like them. Yeah. And the thing about it is, do y'all understand the impact that you're having for standing in this fight? Even though nobody might not say good job to you, but do you understand the impact that you have even on your own children?
Yeah.
When you standing up for what you feel is right?
Yeah, I didn't understand that at first. It took me till my oldest was 9, before it finally really struck me the impact that I had, because I was always looking for the next thing and the next thing. And, I was like, I don't want to lose who I am by raising all of these kids. And I love being a mom, but I want my own individuality. And I had all of these grandiose schemes for how I was going to impact the world. And there was just this one moment, it was 4 or 5 years ago, when I just realized, okay, there is that poem, that the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. And there's something to be said about that. Motherhood is, you think my favorite founding mother was Abigail Adams. She wrote to her child as he was crossing the sea to get to France as an ambassador at the age of 14. She wrote to him telling him that it would be better if he were drowned in the ocean than that he would give up his faith in God. I mean, what mother like says that to her 14-year-old son? But her passion and her prayer for her children was that they would follow hard after God at the expense of everything else. This world does not offer us anything that is lasting or eternal, and yet those are the things that we grasp for. And I love the conversations with my kids. Sometimes it's at 2:00 in the morning. My daughter will come in our room, and I'm like half asleep, and it's hard to wake up, and she's got a question about faith or about something that her friend said or whatever, and she's not afraid to ask, because we've given her an environment in the home that invites questions, invites those doubts and fears and all of those things. It makes parenting harder because we can't just say, well, it's because I said so, right?
Mhm.
There are obviously times for that, but for the most part, it's, my kids ask me questions a lot. They ask me, what do you mean by that? Or why did you tell me to do that? And it causes me to pause and think and understand what my own worldview is, what my own basis for faith is. I think, unfortunately, the church has really gotten bad at doing that, because we've got this almost blind faith obedience in the church nowadays. And I'm not saying every denomination or every church, but in general in America, there's just this, well, you just got to believe it because this is what it is. But there's that verse that talks about always be prepared to give a reason for the hope we have, and do it with gentleness and respect. But we have to have a reason for the hope in order to give an answer, right? And so if I teach my kids, well, that's just the way it is, and you just have to believe it, then I've basically cut their feet out from under them, because I've not given them a foundation that's based on anything real or true. And so, yeah.
Well, I want Melissa to touch that because her kids watching her fight. But then after Melissa touch it, I want Destiny to touch it from seeing her father and mom in the fight. So,
Okay.
so now we got mothers, and then we got a daughter who's watching their parents fight. And then since he's here, we're gonna ask him to answer the question on how he, from a father's side, and his children watching him fight, because he's a bully. For those that don't know, this man right here is a straight bully.
See, I don't know how I should take that. Like, should I be offended? Should I? And that's funny because I said something to somebody today about that, and they just started laughing. And it's funny because they only know me as this really nice person. And a lot of it's because I keep my inner circle very, very small. Problem is, I don't have any tolerance for nonsense. And like, it's kind of like on my social media. 99% of the people I have on there hit me up. So if I see somebody say something stupid, I'm going to have to level up and join that, just sometimes for entertainment value. But yeah, I don't know. Bully, maybe not. I don't know.
It's okay. It's good to be a bully sometimes. Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes I suppose, but don't let me stop you. Go ahead. Keep doing your thing there.
Go ahead, Melissa.
Okay, well, yeah, it's definitely been different, to say the least. I didn't really think about all of that prior to going into all of this. I didn't really think about how much work it would be, or what my kids would think, or what I would have to really do in this fight to step up to do this. But it just kind of like happened, and I just am getting the motivation from a lot of great parents and from God to keep going. So my kids, yeah, they're great. They're very supportive of me. My son is older. He's a senior in high school. So he's kind of on the edge of where everything is. Like, he doesn't see a lot of things as such a big deal. And he's kind of given into the whole idea of the mask, but I'm sure he wants it to go away. I hate the whole idea behind it all. So that's why I'm fighting for this. So it's hard because my son, he's got to work and they require him to have a mask on. And then now they are claiming he either has to have the vaccine or weekly tests going into the new year. And it's just not going to happen. We're not doing that. So they're going to have to find other arrangements, or he's going to need to find another job or whatever. So it's very hard, but they all know where I'm coming from, and that it's on the foundation of what is the truth and what is right and what you're entitled to as a human being under God, your creator, and your fundamental rights. You shouldn't have to ask for your right to breathe. This is something I can't grasp, that people are so adamant about, that, it drives me nuts. And my daughter, she is kind of just like me. She's my biggest cheerleader. She came up to me a couple weeks ago and had a flyer that she had made. And it was a picture of a mask with a big cross through it and a circle around it, a big no. And it said, "Unmask us, people. What's in it for us kids?" And she's like, "Mom," she handed me a whole bunch afterwards. She's like, "I made a whole bunch of them. I got a whole bunch of them. And can we go put them up like the missing dog signs on the posts all around town? Because I'm so sick of this." And I'm like, "Oh, honey," as much as it made me feel so proud, and it just broke my heart, because it's our kids shouldn't have to be in this fight. They should be able to be kids. They should be able to go on the playground and play with their friends. They should be able to see their friends' smiles and stuff. So it just drives me crazy that we have to fight for this. But I know that, this will be a pivotal point, in their lives, to know that, hey, I need my kids to know that I didn't back down and that I didn't surrender, that I fought with everything I had for their future. So I know, and I pray and I hope that them going in the future, their life, if I'm here or not, that they'll look back on this and know, hey, my mom wouldn't have given up, so neither am I. I'm going to do what's right, and I'm going to do what God wants me to do. And that's all I can ask for. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Destiny, who's watching. Oh, by the way, Ed, have you ever heard of the Dark Horse?
Yeah, I have. It's actually my dad's podcast, and he actually just came out with an episode with Dr. King on Monday, and there's a new one coming up with a certain representative that's getting quite a lot of press in Wisconsin, that's coming out on Monday, or should be anyway. You should definitely check that out. Dark Horse Entrepreneur. He's on Facebook at Tracy Brinkman, and Dark Horse Entrepreneur podcast.
I'll have to look for that. I'll definitely have to look for that. You said Dark Horse. I'm thinking 3 different things. Are you talking the comic? Are you talking the wine? Are you talking the horse that was not supposed to win? It kind of threw me off.
It's like that, yeah. The horse that's not supposed to win, like the underdogs. That's this whole thing.
Yep.
But
so why don't you go ahead and share with us, being a daughter of parents that love to fight?
I guess from my experience, for parents who love to fight, so for growing up, when I was growing up, what I learned from my mom is, do your own thing, and no one's going to do it unless you do it. Oh, I wish I had something to eat. Well, I could make it for you, but you could also make it for yourself, that kind of thing. And I've always been independent because I've always been raised in that kind of way. And my mom has always also stuck to her beliefs in that kind of way. When I started going to school, she started subbing and getting to the school system so she could help me and kind of go through the process with me, which is also how we also learned what's going on in public school. Just sit in a classroom and you'll learn absolutely everything. And I guess an example of that fighting spirit with me and her both, at least for me and my mom on that side, because I've especially got to spend a lot more time with her this year, especially because of the lockdown. But when we went into Meyer and we started going there pretty frequently, and people started putting the mask back on, and when it all started, we were cautious and putting on the masks. We didn't know a whole lot. But after a while, we saw other statistics and how, like, if you're comfortable with it, you could wear one, but you don't necessarily have to. It can be optional. And we started not wearing them. And then as we were walking around Meyer, other people felt more comfortable to not wear it if they saw other people doing it. And I took that as a sign that if you're comfortable in yourself to make a decision like that, and if you're just comfortable yourself, that can inspire other people to be comfortable with what they're doing. And with my dad, he always goes for what he wants. Like, if he has a goal, he'll go for it. Like, he likes to drum, and he's very passionate about it. He tries to squeeze it in as much as he can, especially in the morning when he's not podcasting. And
It's the best time to do it.
yeah, of course. And with the podcast, he just started that. I think it was like early this year, and he's already in like the top like 100 for business podcasts. And then when we started getting like more into politics, like finding people like Wickman, Justin Schmitka, Jeanette Deshane, and Dr. King, of course, people like Kyle Hughes, he started having those people on to hear what they have to say. And of course, with like their businesses, like Dr. King's the God Squad and all that, he started interviewing that because he wanted to get their messages out and then share his experience with that kind of stuff. But I guess it's my perspective on it.
Okay, now we're gonna hear from a dad's point of view.
Oh, you want to get Sarah in there?
Oh, I already spoke.
Oh, okay, all right, you jumped in on that. All right, so what exactly do you want my view on here? Because I got too many of them.
Well, about fighting and your kids watching you fight.
Yeah, that's a fun one, and I really kind of got to echo, something that Melissa said. You don't want your kids to look at you like if you're a coward. And I've said this time and time again, that when you take a look at what's happened during the last 2 years, it's really exposed a lot of people for who they are. And it's interesting because there's a lot of cats out there that I thought they would be some of the biggest defenders of freedom, but they were some of the first to fold like cheap suits, and I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful what I say, because I don't want to get your video struck down here from YouTube or anything. But you got a lot of cats out there that, the mask will protect you. And it's like, dude, if this actually, lab leak hypothesis, let's just say, if that's even remotely true, you're telling me your leopard skin cheetah mask that you got from Amazon that was made in China is going to protect you? Okay. Yeah, keep selling that to me. I ain't buying, but you can please keep selling. But really, at the end of the day, it broke down to me like this. I'm defiant as hell on a lot of things. I don't like being told what to do. And I have no tolerance for BS on a small level, large level. If it comes from the left, especially from the left, but even if it comes from the right, I hold everyone to task. And it's an interesting thing because my youngest son, so I have two older ones, they live in California, but my youngest is here.
Ooh.
And, he's the one who sees it all. And I need him to know that even if I go down, I'm going down fighting.
Yep.
And there's a reason why I'm doing what I do. I explained to him exactly what it is and why it is. It's not to be obstinate. It's not to be difficult. It's because there are things that are just right. You got an employer telling you have to get tested every day. Well, I tell you what, if I'm going to get tested for COVID, I want to see your cholesterol. I want to see your retinal scan. I want to see your STD. I want to see all that stuff. Since we're going to play stupid games, let's play. Here's the game. Let's play who can say the dumbest thing, and I'll go next. Because I can come up with some real stupid scenarios, but that's what they're playing with us.
Yeah.
And then they play these games here where it's a voluntary quit. Okay, cool. Let me explain that to my son and why this voluntary quit was never a phrase or a word prior to, just a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the example must be set. And it must be set not just for our kids. I think that's probably the single most important reason, especially for me. But it's for other people. How many people do you know right now? Maybe that was even you at one point, where you You didn't want to be the one to stand up first. So what you ended up doing is you waited for somebody else to stand. Or maybe you did take that stand first and other people got the courage to stand because they saw you doing that. And if you could be that example, you don't need to reach 1,000 people. You don't really need to reach 60,000. You don't need to reach 100,000. Reach 1, then 2, then 4. Compound interest.
Wow. Well, I love standing up first. You know,
Yeah.
That's the fun part of it, because when other people wake up and you be like, "What took you so long? I told you this a while ago. I told you it was going to happen."
Yep.
So I kind of like to be the one that to start the fight. I don't like when the fight come to me. I like to go to the fight. I like to let them know that we all is not asleep, that we see what's happening, we see what's going on. And even with mine, I tell my son all the time, my son, he's 13. I said, there's 4 things I want you to always remember. 1, I love you. 2, I'm godly proud of you. 3, you're a mighty man of God. And number 4, you are a leader. I remind him, you're a leader. And every report card, all 4 of those things are shown in this report card. And the reason I remind him that he's a leader is because you can't do what everybody do. You can't go along with what everybody else goes along with. And I say, but you do have a choice. You can be a leader and get a leader reward, or you can be a follower and get a follower reward. Take your pick. But you're a leader. You have to stand up when nobody else will stand up, because somebody's waiting on leadership. They're waiting on leaders. They're not just waiting on anything. They're looking for true leadership. And this is why I'm trying to talk Ed into running for office, because they need true leadership. Somebody,
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Have you heard the stuff that comes out of my mouth? I have no filter. Like, I would be the cat that would, like, I could just see it now. Somebody says something to me and I'd cuss them out right there on the podium. Zero filter, like none at all.
But to a certain extent, couldn't you also say that kind of applied to Trump when he ran in 2016?
I was just going to say that.
There's still certain things, but
you are correct about that. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that we're seeing today, and you can take a look at any number of races across the country right now, and you're going to see people that are trying to emulate Trump. The problem is that there was only one Trump. And to be perfectly honest with you, Trump was the prototype. He was the one who he laid out the blueprint. He went out there and fought. Trump's problem was that he wanted to fight everybody. Like, if you said, man, I don't like your tie, he's going to go after you, Oh, yeah, your horse face gremlin.
Yeah.
And it was funny, but it was like, dude, you don't have to fight everybody. Like, just wait a minute. Don't do it.
Ed, hold on. You gotta read this. You have to read this. Okay. I'm gonna put it on the screen. I had to interrupt you because you need to read
this.
Yeah.
Love you, Daniel.
Yeah, but I'm not orange enough. So, I mean, there is that.
And you said emulating Trump, but, are you really emulating Trump? Because if it's emulating, some of that might be not genuine. Yeah. And if that's just you being yourself, that's what people are looking for. That's what attracted people to Trump in the first place. And people aren't looking for politicians, they're looking for people,
Yeah,
right.
Because I think that was the ultimate thing with Trump, was that you knew exactly where you stood with him, because he said it. He was like he was very bold about that, and so he stood up and just set it straight. And I think that's what we need in government. We need people who are going to stop beating around the bush, stop with the I like to call them wax figures, the wax figure politicians who they've got the same big toothy smile and the same talking points. And you know what? I'm sick of that. I'm really sick of it. That's why I asked Dr. King, like, the first thing, what type of government did the founders begin? Like, I don't want to hear this, trite phrase about how we are a democracy and we got to fight to keep our democracy. That's not what the founders wanted. They wanted a constitutional republic, and if we don't know what that means, then you have no business running for office.
I just want to say something really quick to note on that. Trump wasn't a politician either, so I think that had a lot to do with everything as well. And just a little side note that I'd like you all to know really quick, because it's important about our goal with God, is that I was actually retweeted by President Trump twice before he was banned and I was banned on the same day. The first tweet that he tweeted was, I was responding to somebody, and it was, "We are representing Team God." That was the first tweet that he retweeted. The second tweet right after that he retweeted of mine was a prayer directed to him that I had posted months ago, but was pinned at the top of my Twitter feed. And it was basically saying to help him, defeat all the evil that's attacking us in this world and lead him to victory and all this stuff like that. That was the second tweet. So I just want to let you all know, go Trump.
And we have to look at it. I think that both sides, and I said this on Ed's show, and I say it a lot of times on my own, is that both sides are out of touch with the people.
Yeah.
Definitely. And they're not listening to the people. So now the people got to speak loud to make them listen again. My dad wasn't there, but he was there to discipline us, right? So you got 6 boys in the house, mind you, mothers, 6. And we're up there, upstairs, tearing the house up, just acting a nut, right? And my mother can be hollering up there, stop, stop, stop. And we fighting each other and everything, just tearing the house up. Then all of a sudden she'll say this, "I'm about to call your daddy." The moment she said
that one,
the moment she said that, all of us ran downstairs. "Okay, mama, please don't call daddy. Please don't call daddy." Now, even though he didn't live with us and he didn't raise us, but he was the enforcer. Okay? And when that man come to discipline, your whole life flashed before you, and you trying to think about, did you do anything wrong? Because he came. So you know what? And I say that to say this: we've been screaming for a long time. Both sides have ignored us, and now we're saying we're calling we the people.
Yep.
And everybody like, "Oh wait, no, you ain't got to do that." Oh no, it is that time now. Because we the people are the enforcers. And I like to use what Ed always says. Whoever's running for office has to be that person who think they are the third monkey trying to get on the ark.
It's true.
That's a good way to point it.
And if you don't have that kind of to fight from being the third monkey to be one of either the first or the second monkey, then you don't deserve to be in office right now.
Yeah.
Because if you ain't got no fight in you now, you ain't gonna have no fight after the election.
Yeah.
But that's always been the problem, I think, especially coming from the right on the Republican side. You have a number of people that have ran and they've gotten to office. They genuinely want to make some change. They genuinely want to do things, but they're only, you could be one of 435 and you could be one of 100. So that becomes very difficult when you're working with a bunch of people that just are little more than Democrat light. And that's probably the biggest issue that I've seen. That's probably my biggest issue with the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And looking into this election here, now we have a lot of people, and this has been something that's been going on, I want to say, for at least 10 years. You've had libertarians running as Republicans because it's the only way they're going to win.
Right.
The problem is, I think some of the libertarians, and I'm looking at some of these races around the country, and they're going kind of scorched earth on this. And it's like, don't get me wrong. I'm the person who believes in disproportionate response. You come at me with a rock, I come at you with a boulder. I'm a big believer in that. You don't come at me twice. But at the same time, you don't raise the land and wipe out friend and foe alike either. So you have to be cautious in your approach on that because, when I see, you got this Alex Stovall guy down in Arizona. That was an interesting one. Project Veritas busted him out because he would be saying one thing to the public and something else entirely privately.
Yeah.
It's is that the type of person that you want running for Congress or any office for that matter? I want the person who's going to be what I hear on the trail is what I hear in a private conversation.
Right.
I don't want this double talk, scorched earth nonsense. Because if that's what we're going to do, then you might as well just, hey, Tony, here you go. Thank you. 4 more years for you, brother. We can't get our act together.
Yeah.
Pick your state and you can get that.
Yeah, I heard, I'm trying to remember who said this, that we need to start raising up people who have unimpeachable character, who can run for office. Like you said, they are the same person in private as they are in public. Not perfect, not flawless, but unimpeachable in that you could search through a million different tweets and Facebook posts from 30 years ago and they're going to say the same thing, right? They're going to be the same person. And
you
then
don't want to go through my social media. It's a lot of dank memes. It's bad. No filter.
Yeah. Well, I think, yes, there's something to be said for having a filter. We want to address with gentleness and respect, but at the same time, we're also not supposed to be nice guys, right? We're not the party of nice. That was not why we started. We started to end slavery. That's not nice. Like that, it led to a bloody, costly war. I mean, so we were prepared to stand up to the death to do that. I think we've lost that. We've gotten really soft, and we say, we can't fight fire with fire. Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Not if you don't want to win, and that's a great point. I'd love to get David and all you ladies. I'd love to get your thoughts on this because there's something called the fourth turning. And in that, what it is basically, it's a civilization has gotten life so good that there's very little need, very little want, security is there. And it goes in line with that saying that, what was it? Hard times create, tough men create good times create weak men.
Yeah.
And it really seems that we've gotten to that point as a society. We live in abundance. We live in the promised land. If you think about it, go to a grocery store. I mean, granted, inflation's hitting like a champ right now, but you can get pretty much anything you want.
Yeah.
You don't want for anything. You have shelter, electricity. I might not have electricity later tonight. Depends on these windstorms. But still, I'll have electricity tomorrow. They're talking 60 miles an hour. I'm like, damn, reminds me of Hawaii. But we've had it really good.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is to want.
Yeah.
What do you think that has to do with the situation that we're in now?
Well, I started. My thing is, we're in a society where people doesn't appreciate anything because they never had to earn anything. Okay. I'm a business coach and a consultant. So if I give somebody something free for their business, I give them knowledge for their business. A lot of them won't use it because it's free. But if I charge them, then they use it. And I'm sitting there like, what is going on? Because we don't value free stuff. We don't value free stuff. If I remember my father, before him and my mom got divorced, he worked at A.O. Smith, so he was making good money. But he brought one bike. And guess what he taught us?
Everybody better share that thing.
Share it.
You learn teamwork. You ride around the block, then I'll ride around the block. Then, But now what do? Every kid got their own TV. Every kid got their own PlayStation. Every kid got their own bike. And what do we teach them? We teach them division. Don't touch your brother's stuff. Don't touch your sister's stuff. So they didn't learn. We had one TV in the living room. You had to come in agreement to watch the TV. So
and that TV weighed like 55 pounds and stuff. It was like ridiculous to see our TV. Did you have the wood frame TV too?
Yes.
It was like, yeah, it was a 25-inch TV, wood frame. The whole thing itself weighed like 175 pounds. The tube itself was like 50. And yeah, nobody was looting that house. We had one too.
But the thing about it is, the reason we feel the way we feel is because a lot of stuff they didn't have to work for. They didn't earn. So they don't care.
Yeah. It's
when you earn your stuff is when you have more pride into it. You give out, you give out so much free stuff. Like they get their money, stimulus checks, right? Instead of them going and pay their bills and getting stuff to go, they was on their way to Disney World.
Yeah.
They going on, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, it's free. So any other parent would have been like, look, we're going to take care of the lights. We're going to take care of the gas. We're going to take care of the rent. We're going to take care of the food. We're going to do all of this. And then if something left, you can go do it. But when they're getting stuff free, they don't value it. And what's happening, the reason we're fighting for freedom, because we didn't value freedom.
Right.
And that's why we're fighting now. They always say you don't know what's good until it's gone. Now look at you. Our kids don't have the choice to choose if they want to wear a mask or don't want to wear a mask, or if they want to social distance. We know how to social distance without telling them. You get on my nerve, social distance.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the prosperity of America has really led us to be insulated from reality in a sense, where we suffer light and transient things. We suffer evils while evils are small and like Thomas Jefferson says, because we didn't recognize them when we were slowly but surely giving up every little right. It was just this little piece here and a little piece there, and so in the midst of all this prosperity, we were insulated from the recognition of and we didn't have an education system. We didn't have families educating and informing and staying informed and on topics. I grew up in a pretty much apolitical home. My parents went out and voted every 4 years, but there was no talk of what was going on in the world. We lived in a kind of an isolated little bubble, and I think that just really, we need to, while we want to keep our children, right? We don't want to completely smash their innocence. We also need to make them aware that there is a world out there. And if they want to keep their prosperity, if they want to keep their freedoms, if they want to grow up in a world that is conducive to protecting and defending their rights as humans, then they have to learn how to fight that. We have to train our children to be dragon slayers, because there are dragons. And
Yeah, I think that people are they feel entitled and they take everything for granted. I mean, there's no structure anymore. I mean, the person who wins the race no longer is first place because everybody's got to get a prize. It's just crazy. So why even try if everyone's going to end up on the same platform? If you do bad in school, you can't fail anymore. How is that going to help anybody? There has to be some type of structure. There has to be some type of guidance, and it shouldn't all be fair. I mean, with everything, I don't think that everything should be fair. Should people be treated fairly? Yes, but I think you should be treated based on how, as far as grades and stuff go, how you apply yourself, how you do your work and things like that. I don't think you should just pass because they want everybody to, be on the same playing field. You're not on the same playing field. Some kids work really hard to get good grades and others just kind of pass by getting by, is that fair? No, it's not. There's not a lot of things that are fair though. But another thing also is that with this whole, and I don't want to get on this subject, but making, girls be more boy and vice versa and this, that, and the other, that has to stop, because we are two separate, totally different beings for a purpose. And, there's no third or fourth anything. So, I mean, that just puts a mix into it and makes kids confused and everything as well. And there's a lot of betas as far as males nowadays.
Yeah.
There needs to be more alphas.
Yeah.
Like I think all of us females are actually alpha females, but there are a lot of betas as well. And maybe some would say, well, it's the male role to be the alpha and it's the female role to be the beta, but you kind of got to give and take here. There's going to be some of both, I guess, but really, we know which way it should kind of be, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
So,
And I guess, sorry.
No, I'm gonna let you say. I just want Melissa to know you got two alpha males on this broadcast today.
right. No, I can tell that. I can.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Destiny.
I guess my standpoint from this is because I'm younger. I mean, I'm only 18. My my generation, I'm technically in Generation Z, if you want to go in that and those categories. But my generation had more stuff than the last generation.
Mhm.
I grew up with more technology. And I do think that overabundance is a problem and can make people lazy. In my CCS class, we had a talk about we went over the Build Back Better plan and how we would apply that, and then went to public schools and funding. But the subject of making college free was brought up, and some of the people, including me in my class, no, that's a bad idea, because then it's just high school and people aren't going to try as hard. With saying that, I think it's just how someone will handle that. You could still have a lot of things or be very fortunate with how you're raised and what you get. I think it's just the mindset you get from your parents and what they teach you has value, and how you treat certain items and how to get them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I hung out with I know a lot of people, or at least who have different backgrounds than I do. And some have more things, some have less things, whatever. But we all kind of have the same mindset on how we place value, and is something worth it. I could have a good grade and put no effort, or I could have a bad grade and put lots of effort. It just depends on how, do I feel good about that? Do I feel good about
Mhm.
having a good grade and putting no effort into it? Well, no, but what can I do about that, and how can I make myself better by caring about it? That kind of thing. What are my standards, and how am I going to live up to those standards?
Yeah.
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 I want Scott. Scott, I need you to explain this one. He said he disagreed with Ed, so I want to know what did you disagree with?
I love that when people disagree with me. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
It is, for sure.
It's I don't, and that's the funny thing. When it comes to, anybody with a microphone, anybody running for office, I just think it's funny how so many people just have to be right. And it's no, I'm okay with being wrong. As a matter of fact, I prefer to be wrong. As a matter of fact, the last 2 years, I've been really hoping to be wrong. Unfortunately, I haven't.
I think another word for that is teachable, because we're willing to be corrected when we need to be.
Right.
You hit a certain point in your life, a certain age where you're just kind of nah, I got nothing to win on this. I don't have to stand on this. It's not a hill to die on. I'm just gonna, okay. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Tell me what I did wrong here.
Right. And I think it is, and on the campaign trail, I'm not, and I say it everywhere I go, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm just going to tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah.
And if you don't like me after I tell you what you need to hear, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and sing a song. For example, if I was in Fox Valley, right? And you got a bunch of people out in Fox Valley, and I stand on the top of a rock and I start hollering, "Go Pack, go! Go Pack, go!" Guess what's gonna happen? Everybody's gonna be hollering, "Go Pack, go! Go Pack, go!" And then I unzip my shirt, and guess what you see? A Pittsburgh Steelers shirt.
Uh-oh.
See, and I'm gonna walk away because that would be so cringe, and I can't deal with that.
Sacrilege.
So,
I
yeah,
know,
what?
but the point
But
I'm
anybody can
making,
do
and
that,
leave
yeah.
me alone, Ed. But the point I'm making is just because I'm hollering "Go Pack Go" doesn't mean my heart is with the Packers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when it's election time, saying what somebody want to hear don't mean that at the end of the day, what's behind it is what counts. What's the motivation behind a person running? And like you say, we got here because why? They said what we wanted them to say, and we liked it how they said it, and we voted them in office. And like Ed said, they've been soft for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
And so we have to look for the diamond in the rush. You know, they're not perfect. They got to be polished. But the thing I tell people all the time that we got to stop voting for people that's emotional and voting for people that has passion, because passion produces purpose.
Yeah.
And if you got purpose, you know, what's the purpose of all of us fighting? Now, we might not agree on a lot of things, but what is the main purpose? Keeping our freedom.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I love about the story of the founders, because I mean, they actually had feuds going on. I mean, threatening duels and things. I mean, I'm not suggesting we bring duels back, but like they would go up and slap one another right in the middle of a congressional session because
I remember there was one where that happened and someone got beat down with cane. I think it was like a Republican too, and it just happened like right in the middle of it, and it was over.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, there was yes, but in the end they respected one another well enough to understand that we are fighting the same battle. We're trying to form a country based on foundational principles, and so we've got to get over ourselves and we've got to buckle down and get to work. And we need more of that, because our even with, I mean, especially within our party, we are so, or our parties, I should say, we are so divided over all of these little issues. And it's like, no, this is the foundational issue, right? We are a country, a nation that was built on freedom and on the foundational principles of a creator God. And so that has to come first. And then we can hash out those things once we get into office, but we have to have the understanding there.
I think the problem there, and I don't disagree with you, but we generally today, what we have now are two very divergent philosophies on how you view the Constitution. And by the way, before I go any further, Destiny, I believe in free college for everybody. Everybody. Let's wipe out student loans. Let's give free college to everybody. But everybody that works in the college gets paid $40,000 a year. That's it. No more six-figure, top-heavy administrators. No Elizabeth Warren getting $500,000 to teach one class a year, a week or whatever. Nah.
But
if they want to do that, that's the thing.
Add more taxes though to pay those people.
Oh, it would completely devalue. It would. We're already on the path of a devalued dollar right now, so you might as well go all in. But
I disagree with that, but keep going.
No, I'm saying this tongue in cheek, though. I'm saying this tongue in cheek, though. But the economics of all of this plays into it as well, and we'll get to that here in a moment. The thing is, though, you have one group on the left that believes that the Constitution is this living, breathing document. I don't know where they got that from. But their idea is the Constitution needs to change in line with the times. Now, there is a process to change it, the amendment process. But the problem is that you don't get to say that the Second Amendment doesn't mean what it meant in 1780 or today. It's the same. And in a lot of ways, it's like the Bible. The Bible's not meant to change with the times. The times are supposed to be in line with the Bible. The Constitution is supposed to be that way. That's why we have originalists, people that believe that, and that's going to be more on the conservative side of that.
Yep.
We can't even come to an agreement on that. And now we're being picked away at with all these different culture war issues. A trans swimmer that just decimated her competition. You've got, CRT, SEL. You've got, take your pick, allies, enemies, frenemies. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Look at the stuff that's on TV, the things your kids watch, the things your kids listen to.
Yeah.
We can't even agree on the one fundamental thing that binds us.
Yeah.
And that's why all these little things are able to pick us apart.
Yeah. We've lost the art of communicating too, I think. I mean, you just listed off a whole bunch of abbreviated abbreviations and acronyms, and it's like that's how we speak nowadays in 240 characters or less. And we don't have the I love this because we're having a public discourse and we all come from different backgrounds and stuff, but we all have a love for our nation, a love for our constitution, and so we can discuss those things without it being acrimonious or without us devolving into like 2-year-olds on a playground, trying to go for the same slide.
And I think
go ahead, Destiny.
Okay, I think it's like depend with like the issue of not being able to talk to each other. I think it's dependent on like, how are you raised? How do you talk to other people, or how do you take what other people say? Because like I personally experienced that when I had my college. Like he got very emotional about it, my professor, and then I also found out that this was not the first time like he yells at people. But I have no problem if someone disagrees with me, but clearly he did. Even if I didn't say something that was personal to him, he took it another way. And it just depends on how people react to each other and how strongly they take words. Like sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's how it used to be, but some people take it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only do they take it a different way, but they expect you to be responsible for how they feel, how they react, and everything. And there's an amazing book out there written by Stephen Covey, and I highly recommend everybody get it. It's an older book. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the biggest takeaways in that is that you choose to react that way. Nobody can make you mad. Nobody can make you sad. You chose that. Now, there's influences that help you, but
I think if a lot of people or everybody just took responsibility for their own actions, a lot of problems would be solved. Or at least be aware that, like, look what you made me do. Like, oh, I punched somebody, but they made me do that. Well, they didn't take my arm and then make me punch them. I mean, like,
the biggest lie is that my mask protects you.
Right.
I don't want to hear that. Your mask doesn't protect you or me or anybody. Your mask gives you bacterial pneumonia, and that's it. So,
I mean, we're blaming like inanimate objects. I mean, did you see the headlines after the Waukesha incident? An SUV drove into the crowd. It's like there was a person behind that wheel that was responsible. That SUV didn't move itself. It's just we're finding like either other people to blame, or we're finding inanimate objects that we can put the blame on.
If you think that's crazy, two things. One, the lady, there was a shooting, and the lady said guns is going crazy. I said no, guns is not going crazy. People behind the guns done went crazy. But the elected, Ed, you're going to love this one. The elected officials in the city of Milwaukee is trying to sue.
Oh, yes.
Kia and is it Hyundai?
Hyundai, yep.
Hyundai
and Kia. They're trying to sue them for the cars being stolen.
I thought you were going to say for them blowing up, because that did happen to me.
No.
Goodness.
For the cars being stolen, they're trying to sue the automobile company.
Yeah.
Stating that it's too easy to mess with their vehicles.
Like pushing the responsibility. Well, like I didn't do that, they did that. So I don't have to sit there and deal with the decisions that like I made.
Right. Now the same people that's trying to sue the automobile industry are the same people that was hollering defund the police.
Yeah. Yeah. Minnesota just refunded their police force because Minneapolis, they just realized, we're screwed if we don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's use our brain.
But you got elected officials trying to sue. Instead of them coming forth and say, you know what, I need to be in my district. I need to make sure I do whatever I can to help these them stealing the cars. Let me get more police out there. Let us refund the police department what they need so they can get out there and do their job. But no, you rather go try to win a lawsuit. Now, out of all the things that I have ever seen on TV about the dumbest lawsuits, this is the dumbest lawsuit I ever seen in my life from people who's supposed to have degrees.
But wait, it gets better. It gets so much better. So apparently Hyundai and Kia responded to this, and I guess they're going to be making more theft-proof cars, which is going to be interesting. And I know I'm about to say something that, some people might cringe about, but when criminals do dumb things and it causes great physical harm to them, that entertains me. I know
Mhm.
we're supposed to be above that. I'm not. I'm petty. I'm okay with that because apparently it was a cat. I think it was North Carolina trying to steal somebody's catalytic converter. And what happened? The car crushed him. Oops. Play stupid games, get stupid rewards. But California. So I don't know if you guys know about this out in Cali, some of the cities out there, $950. If you go into a store, you go grab something and dish out, boom, they ain't going to prosecute you. They
Nope.
won't even come after you. As a matter of fact, California has gotten so many things. They've done these, those flash mobs where people would go into a mall, start
Right.
dancing
Yep.
and
Yep.
all that fun stuff. Real cool. Well, they can do flash mobs with dash and go, smash and
Yep.
grab.
Yep.
And so now the big box stores that allowed the burning of like Target and Starbucks and all this stuff for the last year and a half, now they're asking Congress to pass a law making it hard for people to resell items. Now, I know a lot of these cats are going to go in there. They're going to grab some Gucci bags. They're going to get some Dolce & Gabbana. They're going to get some fly gear, Nikes. I saw one cat, though. He walked out with some Jack Daniels. So it's like, big ups to you. But the thing about it, though, a lot of these folks will go on Facebook Marketplace, resell it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you have to ask, if we're going to sue Hyundai and Kia, why aren't we suing Facebook about this? By the way, take a look at that secondary market. There's a lot of stuff that's on sale there that shouldn't be. But I guess that's neither here nor there because they want Congress to intervene. So that way, well, if you think about it, over the last year and a half, they crushed the small mom and pop stores in the real world. Now they're going to crush your online business too. They think they're going to get these people to stop misbehaving, but they're not. But it's a bigger point. Why haven't we changed the culture in the inner city? Because that's the problem. It's not Kia. It's not Hyundai. It is not, Target or whatever. It's the culture in our inner cities. And our culture in the inner cities is crap. That's why I left.
We lower our expectations because we've taken the responsibility away from people and we've just made them into victims. And like I tell my kids every day, you are loved, you are safe with me, you are called and capable, but you are also responsible. And those are the four things every day. Whenever we have a scuffle or they didn't get their chores done and they have to deal with the consequences of it, it's like, don't forget that fourth part. You're responsible for the good and bad choices you make. You will get a consequence for it. And you've got to be willing to accept that.
Yes. And so, and I think that, the culture needs to change in Milwaukee, and it won't change until leadership change. The culture in Wisconsin needs to change, but it won't until we get leadership in there. Now, notice what I said, leadership. I'm keep using the word leadership, not somebody else in office, but leadership, because leadership makes the strong decision. And, I had a mother one time tell me, she was going to the church. She says, I don't like your methods. I don't like them. And then she says, but I love the results.
Yeah.
And you might not like my method, but you're going to love the results, because when you do certain things, a lot of people didn't like Joe Clark in the movie Lean on Me, but they love the results of what he's done with that school. So, sometimes you got to be able to make the tough decisions to change some things, to raise the standard up, to bring the right culture back. If you're not willing to take a little heat for a change, then you don't need to be there. Milwaukee people are saying, I'm running for mayor, and I'm like, okay, what's your vision? What's your vision for Milwaukee?
Yeah.
And they don't have one. Then why do you want to be the mayor?
Yeah.
Same thing with any office. Why do you want that office? If you ain't got a vision for the office, and Lord Jesus, every candidate needs to sit with your husband. Just just let them sit with your husband for a minute, because he will grill and ask you about vision, ask you about his kids. What's your plan for my children? You know,
Mhm.
and those are the ones that we have to take a look at. So, for example, she put in here about the children, right? 16 years old
Yeah.
and under. That's
They're
still in these.
joyriding.
That's joyriding, still in the cars, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed said the parents gave up their power, but most of their discipline power was taken from them, right?
Mhm.
We used to have this commercial that came on for the latter part of my childhood, and when I was first becoming an adult, it was saying it's 10 o'clock. Parents, do you know where your children are?
Yes.
Remember
I
that?
I
remember that
remember
one.
that.
Yeah. I
Okay.
remember that one. That was I remember watching it. I'm not sure where it was.
But we didn't have to worry about that commercial. You know why? Because I grew up in a time where they say, don't let the street light beat you home.
Mhm.
Right? So we knew, I don't care if we was at the park a mile away. We knew when that street light getting ready to come on, Lord Jesus, we gonna wish we had a what you call those things that just transport
Teleportation.
you.
You be
Yeah,
teleporting and stuff.
Teleport.
And it
Yep.
was and it was funny because you remember the light would just start flickering. And you
yeah.
knew that you had like 43 seconds to get home. And you would look at your friends like, I gotta go. And they're like, no, man, let's finish this game. Like, bro, I don't think you understand. Like, my dad will hang me upside down and beat me like Conan the Barbarian. Like, seriously, yeah, think about that on the tree of woe. Do that again.
Yeah.
I dare you. Oh no. I did happen one time. Never again.
Hey,
Mm-mm.
and the thing about it is, they didn't have to wait till the TV say 10 o'clock. Parents, do you know where your kids are? We were
Mhm.
never out there for curfew. We was in the house. You know, in the summertime we might was allowed to sit on the porch, but that means sit on the porch. You
Yeah.
couldn't get off that porch and stand in front of the yard or nothing like that. You had to be on that porch, and if the ball got off the porch, that ball was staying right where it was, because we understood. I, let me tell you how I do it. At the church, parents would come with their kids, right? And the children might do something, or they're clown, or they'll do anything to disrupt. And I just look at them and like, you bet not. The first thing the kids does is look up at the parent. If the parent don't say nothing, that kid stays straight. But if the parents say something, the kids go back to acting. You know why? Because kids is waiting on signals from parents.
Mm.
So if your kid come home and say, well, my teacher don't like me, and you go fussing at the teacher, then the kid, you just told that kid you have the right to act a fool.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I want to interject on that one because I know you guys said that earlier. I think that this is one of those areas where in the past, you actually had teachers that didn't like the kids. And the parents would always, hey, well, listen to your teacher. Do it anyway. Maybe not the smartest thing. You should have kind of went in there like, okay, let's get the story here.
Mhm.
Let's figure out what's what. And little Johnny, if you're stepping out of line, trust me, you're going to be living like the Amish for a month.
Yeah.
So
But
I think that was part of the problem. But the other thing, and like I said earlier, we have ceded so much of our power as parents to the schools. And we have done that because the schools are supposed to act in lieu of the parent, in local
Right.
parentis.
Yeah.
The problem is that they've taken that ball and ran. We've gone ahead and say, yeah, you guys just handle it. I really don't want to be involved. Because how many involved parents do you have in there? Or if you're a
Mhm.
single mom, for whatever reason, the fathers aren't really notified. They're not really involved in it. And if they're not notified, even though they want to be notified, maybe there's some beef going on over there, which goes to a point I think Melissa was making earlier, which is essentially the emasculation of the American male. And in that school, these boys are literally being effeminized. Don't
right.
be competitive. Don't play dodgeball.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's a rite of
Toxic
passage to get smacked
masculinity.
upside the head.
Yeah.
That
That's
red
right.
4-square ball, there was a rite of passage to get smacked upside the head. You weren't in the cool kids club until you had that imprint on your jaw.
Right.
But
But I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna give everybody 2 minutes for their final thoughts and stuff before we close out. But I'm gonna say this, Ed. parents got to stop lying too. Because when you take your kid to that school, right, and they tell you what your kid done, we all know our children. We all know our children, right? So if my mama took me back to the school and they said, David is the class clown. He always making too much noise. He's always disrupting. She'll be like, yep, that's David. Because we know our kids. Because whatever we do at school, we do at home.
Yep.
We know our kids. So instead of the parents saying, not my child, no, your child. You know your child.
Yeah.
Like my son, he got in trouble because he got into a fight. So we driving home from school and we're talking about the fight. And he said, well, Daddy, you told me if somebody hit me, I have the right to hit them back. He said, you told me that. I said, I did, son. I said, but I got a problem with that. He said, what's the problem? I said, you retaliated. He said, what do you mean I retaliated? I said, he hit you, he ran, the teacher saw him hit you, and she said she was going to take care of it. You chased him down and hit him. That's retaliation. So
I'd have given him a steak dinner, but that's just me.
Right. But so I told him, don't twist my words now. Now, if y'all there and y'all scuffling, that's a different thing. But when you got to chase him down after a teacher told you, I saw him hit you, I'll take care of it, and you chase him down to get that lick back, that's retaliation. So I had to let them know. And we got to be able to be honest with our kids and break it down. Yeah. Because here's the thing. If somebody would have hit him with a stick or something and he went out in the streets and hit him with a stick, now he's being charged and he's thinking, I'm defending myself. No. That was retaliation.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to control yourself when it comes to retaliation. Okay, so we got a couple of minutes. Let me see. I guess since Destiny started us, I'm going to let her give her 2-minute final remarks, then Melissa, then Sarah, then Ed. You guys, it's been 2 hours. I didn't even realize that.
Wow.
So,
this has been fun.
You know, right?
Yeah.
So come on, Destiny.
Well, I guess my closing statement is thank you so much again for having me and inviting me for this panel. It's an honor. And thank you for letting me share my story. It feels great to get my message out there and to let people know that they're not alone if they feel like they're in an uncomfortable environment, especially in school. Like they don't have to just settle for less just because, I have to get this degree so I can get this job. There is other alternatives that you can get if you look for them, of course. But again, thank you.
All right.
And I'll see you Friday.
Yes, ma'am. You are speaking at the Wisconsin Revival Rally Friday in Manitowoc. I'm looking forward to it. Melissa.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you also, David, for having me at the rally the other week and also on today. Allowing us to share our stories with you has been great. I'm really happy I got to meet all the other guests, Ed, Destiny, and oh my gosh, how did I forget your name? I'm so sorry.
Sarah. Okay.
It's not up on my screen. But yes, like you guys are great. I think we've all learned a lot from each other. I know that we're all representing the truth and God, and I'm very grateful for that. There's definitely a bigger purpose behind what is happening here. You guys find me on Facebook. I'd like to be your friends. If you have any questions about our lawsuit, please let me know. Send me a message in Messenger. We also have the Give, Send, Go, which is givesendgo.com/KUSD, Unmask Our Kids. And that's how we're raising funds to move through with this lawsuit to stop the masking situation in Kenosha. So thank you so much. God bless you guys and keep fighting. We win.
Amen. Amen.
All right, Sarah.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate being asked to be on here. Thank you. That was definitely an honor. I want to be more part of the discussion, and so this is an awesome opportunity. Thank you, Dr. King. I just really want to encourage everybody. You do not have to be an expert in all of the nuances of our Constitution. You do not have to know every single name of every single founding father. You do not have to know who's in every single office in our state capital, but just read and just learn and just take responsibility for yourself. And if you have questions, then find the answers, and find people who have the answers. We don't know everything, and that's okay. But being on the journey together is definitely just an amazing experience. And finding people who are like-minded and who want to honor God and who want to fight for this country and leave it a better place than how we entered it. So yeah.
All right. Last but definitely not least, the Carmen Conservative Ed. Take it away.
Well, first, I want to thank you, David. Really appreciate you having me on here. Ladies, I want to thank you guys for joining in here and allowing me time with you guys as well, too. It means a lot. It's another phrase in Latin that I love, and I'm sure you guys are very familiar with it. Civis pacem parabellum. If you wish for peace, prepare for war.
Mm.
The left know this. They are constantly at it. They're like damn Terminators. They just do not quit. They don't feel mercy, pity, remorse, and they're very good at what they do. They're very good at circling the wagons. They have an agenda, and they'll do anything they can to make that happen. We don't necessarily need to be like that, but we can certainly take the pages out of the playbook, because in a battle of good and evil, there's no such thing as not fighting as dirty as your opposition. There's a reason why God gave archangels swords. And if we don't realize that, well, then we might pray ourselves into oblivion. And I can't have that. I got kids, and I can't have that. But thank you guys very much. Good night. God bless you. Appreciate it as always.
Amen. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for joining me tonight. This was good. I mean, this was really good. And I want to thank all the people that joined in with comments and questions from Facebook, from Twitter, from LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'm very grateful. We had people on from New York, so I'm excited that they was on with us. So on tomorrow night, 6:00, I will be in Shell Lake, Wisconsin, for the Washburn Patriot meeting. I am the guest speaker up in Washburn, Shell Lake. Come out and join us on tomorrow night. And then on Friday night, the Wisconsin Revival Rally will be in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Amen. And Destiny is one of the speakers. She's going to be speaking. We have a pastor from Sheboygan. We have a pastor from Manitowoc, a pastor from Green Bay. We have a pilot that's going to be speaking as well, telling their story. We got Pastor Jason Storm going to be speaking. I'm so excited to have these.
Isn't my dad speaking too?
Yes. And the dark horse will be in the house. So I'm excited about everybody that's speaking on Friday. So y'all join us. It's been a blast. We're being consistent on Wednesday night, you guys. I think that's the best night because I don't do anything on Wednesday after the morning belong to my wife, then Bible class, and then the 2-hour show. See, I'm getting worse than Ed now, almost 3 hours if I don't cut it off. But let
me throw one thing in real quick. Let me just throw one thing in real quick. I'm looking at the Central Wisconsin weather. It's on Facebook, and they're putting out these maps of all these severe thunderstorm watches, tornado watches, and everything else. Just everybody be careful. Know where your flashlights are, water, emergency food, things like that. Just be safe. And if you don't have to be out on the roads until 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow, don't.
Yeah.
Yes. So is that 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow morning or tomorrow night?
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I'm not getting on the road until about 12. So
there you go.
Pass over. Angels go before me, but I'm looking forward to it. You guys, and as I always open and as I always close out, I am Dr. David King, and I am your next Lieutenant Governor. Until next week, Wednesday, God bless.
God bless.